Yes, hello.
Hmm?
Welcome to this channel. Here, Enigmatic Joker and Sedeku next to me. Hello.
Hello. Hello,
Hello.
everyone.
Um, yes, today we talk about the A Doctor and the War Doctor. The actors behind them are the Paul McGann. Recently turned 62. Happy birthday to Paul McGann.
Happy birthday, Paul.
And John Hurt, is not with us anymore. Rest in peace.
Yeah, sadly.
Sadly, but because I wanted to see more of him. He was in the Moffat era in the.
He was
in
in.
the story.
He was briefly at the end of Name of the Doctor. He was in.
Yes, by Matt Smith.
Yeah, and then he was in Day of the
Tennant.
Doctor, and he's also done a few audio stories,
Yeah.
which we'll talk about later.
Yes. But the screen appearances of the Eighth Doctor and also the War Doctor, we see not much of him on screen, but there is much audio about them, and there's also much to talk about these doctors. We had some impressions of these doctors, and Paul McGann is a wonderful actor, and what we see of him and what we heard of him, he does the Doctor very well. In audio, you see him more and more develop. We know him better in the audios.
Yes.
Because we won't see one side in a movie of him, but in audio we see much sides of him, and he does the audios very well. He's well received in the Big Finish franchise. Most of fans are very enthusiastic about him as the Doctor. I are very glad that he is in our audio, by the way, but because I was only in the movie and in the mini-show Night of Doctor, but the audios we have the audios gladly, and we can enjoy this Doctor very well. It is a very favorite Doctor by many fans. I think I know a lot of fans who are really a fan of this Doctor, and mainly because of his appearance and who he's setting this character very good.
Well, here's the thing. I think you can be a fan, like he's got his audio series, and you got the novels that were in, and you got the comic strip. So, like, you could be a fan of one of the three, and it's like you could all be fans of Paul McGann, but be following completely different canons of him.
Yeah.
Like there's people who like read the books, like, and they're familiar with that Eighth Doctor who had that war with the enemy, and there was that ended up marooned on Earth, I believe. And of course, in Big Finish, it's different. He travels with Charlie Pollard, and there's that business with Zagreus and the Divergent Universe and all those things. Yeah, and in the comics, I think it's Izzy travels with. He's that geeky girl, and actually, there is an audio called Company of Friends where you get a bit of a crossover, and you get some of the book companions in the audios, or some of the comic companions in the audios, and Izzy's in one of them, and it's quite amusing.
So you read some of the novels, or you heard about it?
I've only read the one novel. I've only read War of the Daleks, and so that's not a popular one because like it's basically a sequel to Remembrance of the Daleks, but it's like it tries to imply that the entire Dalek-Movellan War was a sham, and that when the Doctor blew up Skaro, it wasn't actually Skaro; it was a completely different planet, and it's like okay, overkill kind of thing.
Oh, so that's in that way.
But that's the thing. Like, it was plausible enough that maybe they got the wrong planet because, okay, the plot is that apparently the Daleks, during the Dalek invasion of Earth, they broke into the Ministry of Defense records and on Earth, and they found the report on what happened in the events of Remembrance of the Daleks, and they found the report that Skaro had been destroyed, and that the Doctor had this conversation with Davros. And so the Daleks kind of realized that Davros was still asleep, and they, like, because after Genesis of the Daleks, they found that Davros wasn't dead; he'd just been shut down. so they relocated him to this other planet, soaked it in radiation, and then and sold it the lie that that was meant to be Skaro. And then when the Doctor lands on Skaro, he's using the randomizer, so he doesn't know that he's not on Skaro. Now that's plausible enough, but then there's a whole. But the Movelen War was a sham as well. The Movelans were only we only created this false war so that we could give Davros an excuse to provide a pretext for us to revive Davros and for him to be needed. And it was just no, that's just ridiculous. That's just the Daleks created the Movelen virus that kills them all. It's like no. Yeah, I think even a lot of book fans were like fans of the Ed book series were like, no, that's not canon. That's probably the timeless children of the books. I think.
Yeah. What for the other one fan is canon is for other non-canon. There's not much discussion to talk about, but if the novels are canon or the Big Finish are canon. I see the Sedeco 24, the tennis of Wang Chiang. A notification. Okay.
We have gotten really ahead of ourselves. We should start at the beginning, shouldn't we, with McGann?
Yeah.
1996.
The doctor, this doctor.
Yep.
There's some this life of the incarnation of this doctor is a one of great temporal complexity. I noticed. Because he was frequently involved in time paradoxes and parallel universes. That was impossible to know with certainty how the major epochs of his existence fitted together. So it is what I say. It is a doctor. There is a change coming, and that is also to see in the last great time war what is up hand, but. Before that, he is involved in some time paradoxes and parallel universes. You can also see that very clear in the Big Finish and also in things. Yep. And
I'm more familiar with the Big Finish stuff than the novels, but even then, like I've heard some of his audios. I haven't heard them all. I haven't kept up to date with them, but. I know some of them.
Okay.
Also, I think it's that. See, when they were writing the books, like they weren't sure whether the series was going to come back or not, or they knew, but they didn't quite know what form it was going to take. So the books already had this idea of this war in which Gallifrey was destroyed.
Yeah.
This didn't concern the Daleks; it concerned a different enemy, and I think that had like repercussions. That was like an arc. I think that arc went on for 5 years or something. I mean, I don't know the finer details of it. Someone who's followed the books might be able to explain it. But I think there was a final book called The Gallifrey Chronicles. I think that was by Lance Parkin. And I think the point was meant to be that tries to wrap it up so that Gallifrey is restored so that it can be destroyed again by the Daleks. And the audios is different because that's like they actually... his arc was still running whilst there was the business with the new series. Like 2005, the new series came back, and at the same time, let's see, there'd been, I think McGann had 3 or 4 seasons, and he'd just come out of the Divergent universe, and his first confrontation was with Davros when he came out in this story called Terra Firma, and that was hinting that like you see a shift in his character. Then you get the sense, okay, something's building up. He's not going to be quite the same again. The Daleks are going to become a more prominent feature in his journey, and it's going to culminate in the big time war. And in Lucy Miller to the Death, that's when we really see that up a notch. You get the sense that Lucy Miller to the Death is kind of written as the final story, and like there is implied that the next step is McGann's going to get involved in the war because he's just had enough. But I mean, they went a different path with that, of course, but that's how it seemed to be going.
Okay. So also some,
Should we talk about the TV movie then? That's probably the one we're all familiar with.
Yes. we see in the beginning, we see in the movie, we see the Seventh Doctor, Sylvester McCoy. We talked about him last week. He's sitting relaxed in his chair in the TARDIS, and we don't know in the beginning, but he is carrying with him the Master in a box.
The remains of the Master, like
yes, and they want to he's ahead for Canada, I think, to bring him
that was
there.
Yes. The Daleks put the Master on some kind of trial, and then it was obviously a show trial because they were obviously going to kill him no matter what the outcome. And the Master's final request was, "I want my remains brought back to brought back to Gallifrey by the Doctor." And it's like the Doctor. I get the sense the Doctor thought, "Oh, he wants me to go there, so I'm going to risk my neck nearly getting exterminated, bringing him back." That's his final kind of trick. But it turns out that the trap is deeper than that kind of thing. Because as on the journey, that's when the Master's remains, which aren't so dead, break out, and they find their way to the TARDIS console, and they force an emergency landing. And in that emergency landing, the Doctor kind of rushes out, and he falls into the middle of this gang war between these rival factions.
Yes.
It's set in Vancouver, isn't it, the story?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So in Vancouver, downtown Vancouver, Chinatown, that's when he falls in the middle. He lands in the middle of this rival gang war between these two Chinese gangs, and he basically gets shot. One of the other gang members, who was like the only survivor, like his homies got shot basically. He does the good deed of trying to get the Doctor to hospital.
That was by the way, that was unique amongst other incarnations of the Doctor. He was technically he was dead at that moment when he regenerated.
Yeah,
because you can see that in the clip when Grace is treating him, he's already, his functions are want to be his heart stops, and he is carried to the we call it
the morgue.
Yeah.
Well,
he regenerated when he was actually he was technically dead in that moment.
Yeah, and it's not clear what killed him, whether it was the bullets that killed him or the operation to save him that killed him. Because obviously it was an operation by humans who didn't know that he was alien. They didn't know his physiology was completely mixed up. So they botched the operation. And he did actually say that it nearly... did he say the anesthetic nearly prevented him regenerating or something?
Yes, there's something, Sylvester McCoy, the Seventh Doctor, was warning because the Doctor to stop. Because because it would prevent him in regenerating or something.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's also the case with that, by the way, time when the Eighth Doctor regenerated to the War Doctor. He was also in a state of technically dead, but
yes, true.
Yeah. So this was one thing. What I also want to mention is this Doctor was inherently a happy adventurer, and he was what I said before the stream. He was a romantic. He was falling in love with his companions Grace Holloway in the movie, and in the audios he had Charlotte Pollard.
Yeah,
that was very human emotions. He had very human emotions. Yeah.
Yeah, there was the great controversy in the film was that he meets Grace after the operation. Like he regenerates. He doesn't know. The only person he recognizes is Grace, who was actually performing the operation on him. And she's been fired because she refused to. No, she wasn't fired. She quit. She quit because she botched the operation, and the boss wanted to cover it up, and she kind of walked on principle and said, "No, I'm not going to be party to lies about what happened." And so basically, he's looking for he's regenerated and he's in a state of amnesia, and the only face he remembers is Grace's face. So he meets Grace in the parking lot, and then at first she kind of gets freaked out by him, but then, well, he freaks her out even more when he actually pulls out the probe that she didn't, used in him. And then, so she basically with him, she takes him home, and he's trying to piece together his memories. And it's when he remembers, then he has this moment where he just kind of, in this burst of passion, he just basically plants a big snog on her, and she's like, "Oh, do that again." But the thing is, I think a lot of fans at the time were kind of like, that the Doctor shouldn't do that. He shouldn't be have a romantic relationship. And I think over time that went from a controversy to kind of being, well, almost this Doctor's unique selling point.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't until David Tennant, because David Tennant was kind of romantic as well. So it stopped being McGann's unique selling point then, which is a shame.
Also, this is also a Doctor who is the most optimistic of all Doctors, I think. Can you agree with that? The most optimistic of all the Doctors?
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah, I mean he is, but by God, some of the audios and the books put him through they test that optimism to breaking point, don't they? It's like they don't want him to be optimistic. They want to kind of they want to break him. A lot of those stories, don't they?
Yeah. You can see that he tried to remain a cheerful and pacifistic adventurer, in spite of a universe that grew even increasingly hostile around him.
Mm-hmm.
And that culminates in the eruption of the Last Great Time War. So then we see this in the Night of the Doctor in the Minnesota, that he is it is necessary that there's a change. There's necessary. It's necessary to have change, so he's going to that cult. Who call it?
The Sisterhood of Khan.
The Sisterhood of Khan. Yes. Yeah. He takes a cup of or something, and then he changes.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, the Sisterhood, they've always there's been this kind of secret trade between the Time Lords and the Sisterhood. Now, the elixir of life is this particular it's like this kind of it's like this particular wine almost, but it's like it's produced by this particular flame that comes from the center of Khan, like this particular volcanic tunnel. And basically, the sediment produces this particular substance that forms the elixir of life. Now, the Sisterhood use it because it preserves their life. Like, it preserves them. It halts the aging process. Although they have to keep regularly taking it, otherwise the aging process is gone, and they'll just age really rapidly. But the Time Lords sometimes need to visit to take the elixir if a regeneration goes wrong. It's the elixir is supposed to help them regenerate. Mm-hmm. And the Doctor's always said that it's a bad system, because what it does is it keeps the Sisterhood in a state of immortality, and because it keeps them in a state of immortality, it keeps their culture arrested in the Dark Ages, because the power system, the power dynamic never changes. You never get a new generation usurping the old and being more progressive. Anyway, that's a bit of a tangent. So the Sisterhood are there at the end of the Doctor's life, because they're quite telepathic, and they sense that the Time War is going really, really terribly, and he needs to get involved. And I mean, and they say that the particular because basically the plot is that he was on a crash ship. He was responding to this distress call, and when he was rescuing this girl called Cass from a crashing ship that was going to crash on Khan, and she refused to join him once she realized he was a Time Lord, because the Time Lords by that point had developed a kind of a very nasty reputation, and so she chooses death rather than be rescued, which is a bit odd. But the Doctor stays to try and persuade him. Because he stays, he ends up ostensibly he's killed in the crash, and the Sisterhood use their mental powers to preserve his life for about 4 minutes extra.
Yeah.
And they say that they can use a particular elixir to bring about regeneration, and that regeneration can be it can be chosen. It's like it's not just going to be a potluck who we regenerate into. They can decide if he's going to be what kind of incarnation the next one's going to be. They even say you can go from male to female. Yeah.
Okay. We're in the movie.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
He's regenerated. He has some amnesia. I don't know he doesn't know who he is.
Yeah.
Oh,
now,
by the way, it's not Vancouver, but San Francisco.
Okay.
Yeah.
San Francisco. Yeah. The Golden Gate Bridge. I should have known.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Also, we see the doctor with looking for himself, and he sees Grace, and he is singing on Grace.
Yeah.
And in his attempt to look for himself, there's the master who is running out of his regenerations. Yeah. That's the story of the movie, exactly, because he had to deal with the master.
Yeah.
And we see that the master takes a form of a human in the story.
Yeah, it's like the master's remains are basically just this slimy goo that are formed in this kind of snake-like creature, almost like the Mara, actually, from Kinder.
Yeah.
And when the doctor's rescued by that ambulance, and the snake creature sneaks aboard, and it basically follows. It sneaks into the ambulance driver Bruce's jacket. Yeah. So that basically, when he goes home and he goes to sleep, it basically forces its way through into his body and basically possesses him. And it's kind of similar to with Tremus in The Keeper of Traken, but it's like the master's stolen the body. And the body seems to be decaying quite fast. Like there was there's a scene in the film which at the time I thought was a bit odd, and I think it was where he's talking to the receptionist, and he's in this really kind of nonchalant way. He's peeling off one of his nails. It's like it's gross, but I think that was just a little bit of a hint of what was in the script, and the script was supposed to develop it further, which was that it was supposed to be a hint that the master's body was decaying fast. And if he didn't get the doctor's body soon, it was going to go wrong. That was basically his impetus to need the doctor back, and the clock was ticking for the master, basically.
Yes, that's all the thing with with the Eye of Harmony.
Yeah,
I've done some weeks ago. I did a stream about the Eye of Harmony. One of my first live streams was about the Eye of Harmony, and I discussed that subject. So some commercial about that. Because the Eye of Harmony is very important in that story, in the movie.
Yeah.
The cloister room.
Mm-hmm.
Some things, because indeed the master needs the doctor for his plans. Mm-hmm. And he uses also the Lee, the human in the story.
Yeah,
to open the Eye of Harmony. So I need some human eyes to open the Eye of Harmony. Yes.
Yeah, and that's an odd design feature, isn't it? It's a time-odd device, but it needs human eyes to open it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. So.
Want some water?
Yeah. So a few characteristics of the Doctor come out from this. That's when he's trying to explain to Grace, like a few traits come on. One is that he's a connoisseur of music, of classical music. It's like he knew Puccini quite well. He knew a lot about his past, and he also seems to have a foreknowledge about people he meets. Like he knows bits about Grace's future choices that she's gonna. And there's quite a few. There's like a particular security guard at the institute where they've got the Brilliant clock, and he basically recognizes the security guard as someone who's going to do this particular exam, and he's going to become a seismologist or something, wasn't he? He was his destiny was to basically study seismology and predict certain devastating earthquakes.
Yeah.
and and that was. He was saying, look, if you get that exam wrong, you're not going to be able to save lots of people. What other traits come out? Well, there's the romance, of course. He's a kisser. Gentleman. Notably, there's that scene in when he confronts the other policeman on the road, and like basically he's also very good at pickpocketing. He's a bit of an artful dodger. He's
yes,
he's a pickpocketer, and he basically gets the officer's gun, and because he's the doctor, because he's quite principled, he's like, look, now stand aside before I commit suicide with this gun. And Grace's like, what are you doing? Like, point at the cop. It's like, no, I don't do that.
Yeah. There's some funny things in that movie, by the way. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a moment in when he's undergoing like the Master's operation. The Master's about to regain his body. He's going to. So it's the end for him, and it's the end for Earth, because the Eye of Harmony being open that long is going to turn the planet inside out. And like there's that line he says, "This cannot be how it ends." It's like he's facing what he thinks is his final defeat, and it's very rare we see that in a Doctor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I first saw the movie when I was 14. It was the first. See, I liked it up until the ending with the. A bit of background noise there. Yeah. It's like toward the end, like then you got the. It's really unclear what happened. You got the like what I still don't know what I still to this day don't know what a temporal orbit means, when that's supposed to be a crucial part of how Grace prevents the TARDIS from sucking the planet inside out. And and it just feels like the ending was a bit of a mess, really. You had like the Grace and Chang Li dying and then being brought back to life, and so I found that very baffling. And I kind of remember reading kind of Doctor Who magazine, trying to kind of find some kind of explanation for what happened, but a lot of Doctor Who magazine was by fans whose complaints about the film they meant nothing to me. It was all like, oh, the romance, the motorcycle chase, all of these things were undoctorish. There was nothing that really spoke to my concerns about the film. You know what I mean? It was all seemed to be like fans talking to each other about what was right or wrong for the film.
Yeah, there's not a proper explanation about some things.
Yeah, well, I think there was meant to be bits in the novelization by Gary Russell that was supposed to fill in the blanks, or at least kind of explain certain parts. There were always theories about what happened. I mean, was it just a case that because the Doctor reversed time, then Grace and Chang Li were restored to the form they were in before they died, or was it something to do with the fact that they both looked into the eye, and because they both looked into the eye, in essence, the soul was, was released and restored to their bodies, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, what was your thoughts on the film?
When I first saw it,
Mm-hmm.
it was a very
Sorry.
I'm looking for a word. It was from Classic Who to the movie. It was a great step for me.
Oh yeah.
Because it was it felt not British or for a UK or you can say that more American.
Mm-hmm.
And, I started from Hartnell to Sylvester. When I saw the movie, it was a very very different. It felt very different. But Paul McGann, the actor, that felt like the Doctor from the beginning. That was not the case. The actor was very good.
Yes,
I thought it was. Yes, this is the Doctor, but the story was a little bit poor. in the beginning when I saw it. The master. Yeah, I really I didn't understand the whole problem of the regeneration yet.
Oh, okay.
Because about he was through his regenerations. I didn't know that about the regenerations because he was running out of his regenerations.
Oh yeah, well that's always been established. Well, it was established in the Deadly Assassin that 13 is meant to be the limit. And
Okay.
And because
there was some I didn't know that in that moment because that was not obvious for me before. But
okay.
the assassin indeed there was a reference to it.
Yeah. I think I think Russell T Davies actually said that his issue with the film was that he felt that the Doctor should always be the hero who arrives and saves the day. Mm-hmm. And he felt that the problem with this film was if the Doctor hadn't landed on Earth and the Master hadn't opened the Eye of Harmony, then there wouldn't be a day for the Doctor to need to save anyway. It'd be like, the Earth would have been fine if the Doctor hadn't landed on Earth at all. And it shouldn't be that. The Doctor should be someone who makes a difference by his arrival. And so there's that. I feel like the other problem is there wasn't much to guess at with the film for me. It's like there was no imponderables, if you know what I mean. What you got was all the like there's this theory in writing that you got the iceberg where there's a surface, you see like the tip of the iceberg above the water. So you see the tip of the story in the plot, and there's a lot more to guess at. There's a lot more, and that's what's intriguing is the thought that there's more there. And it felt like the best classic Who stories have that. You got like you don't just get what you see isn't just what you get. You get a bit more. There's more beyond that. It goes deeper kind of thing. And I feel like the TV movie didn't go deeper. It was just very. It was all very kind of on the nose.
Yeah, it felt like it was also meant as a sort of relaunching the series.
Yeah, it felt like
it was meant. It was meant for that. What the purpose of that? But it was not working out some way. I don't know what reason was, but was it because of low ratings or views? Do you know that?
Yeah, it was. In the UK, it got very good ratings. Like it got 9 million, which, and that showed that there was still an interest in Doctor Who. Like regardless.
But why they didn't continue that after that?
Oh no! The problem is it wasn't. UK ratings were good. The US ratings weren't.
Okay.
Because they put the TV movie alongside Roseanne, and the two things. First, they put it alongside the finale of Roseanne, which got huge ratings. So the TV movie lost out there. And I think at a last-minute decision, I think Fox had two choices between going with a Doctor Who TV series, which they'd have to pay 50% of the rights to the BBC to, or go with this new science fiction series called Sliders, which they own the rights to completely anyway, so they wouldn't have to pay anyone. And I think based on, it was an economic decision, they decided to stick with Sliders, which in some ways is a shame because I think there was whatever the faults of the TV movie, it certainly felt there was promise there. It felt like McGann was a great Doctor. It felt like you could do something with this series. You could do something great with it, and sadly, it wasn't to be. And now to clarify, because we've kind of said a lot of its talk is about the Americanization. It's not so much for me. It's not so much the problem with the Americanization. It's just the way that an American network will translate a British vision. And they'll have these kind of committees and corporate talking heads. And I think that's where the film suffers because the ending really does feel like a committee wrote it. It really does feel like someone wanted the happy ending, someone wanted the downbeat ending, someone wanted the, everyone wanted every kind of ending. And so we got a bit of a mess at the end.
Yes. And we see the story begins and ends the same. He goes sitting in his chair reading Hattie Wales' novel, The Time Machine.
Yeah, yes.
And already the gramophone record is listening, starts skipping again.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then he says, "Oh no, not again." And then that's where the Big Finish audio starts. His adventure start.
Yeah. Oh, something significant about McGann is that he remembers his father, he remembers bits of his childhood in Gallifrey, and he describes to Grace this meteor shower he saw when he was young, and he's just delights, just like he describes a really vivid, happy childhood memory.
Oh, there's a reference there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Should we skip the half-human stuff?
Yeah.
Everyone else did. That's just it didn't happen.
No. So this in the story, the companion is actually Grace and Lee.
Yeah. Well, kind of. I mean, Grace is the Doctor's companion. Lee is the Master's companion, but he travels with him. So it's like, I think the implication is if it did go to series, they would somehow be reunited, and Grace and Lee would become companions.
Mm-hmm.
Oh God. Before the TV movie, there were all kinds of rumors about what an American version of Doctor would be like, and there was one suggestion that they were going to have David Hasselhoff as the Doctor.
That's the one with
from Baywatch and Knight Rider, yes.
The Knight Rider, yes, and I watched that series, a very cool series.
Yeah, and what else? Oh yeah, there was also rumors he was going to have that the TARDIS was going to actually have a voice. That it's going to actually it was like going to be possible to talk to the TARDIS, and it was going to have a voice, like it's going to have this computer voice kind of thing,
like Blake 7, the Liberator.
Yeah, and the Doctor's going to have this American Streetwise companion who's going to teach the TARDIS how to rap.
Mm-hmm.
Not kidding. It was on the rumor mill, but you take that for what you will.
Yeah, it's all very nice. Always nice. But by the way, in America, the movie was broadcast 2 weeks earlier than in England.
Oh yeah.
The BBC One was broadcasting it 2 weeks after it was broadcasted by Fox in America.
Yeah.
So the Americans saw it earlier. This movie.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but more case that they do that.
You didn't really get simulcasts back then. You kind of you need to kind of mail the film to other countries before they see it. So it couldn't be broadcast at the same time. In the days of digital now, you can do that, but back then we weren't yet in that kind of digital age, so we couldn't do simulcasts.
Yeah.
Well, we'll talk about a particular simulcast later when we get to the War Doctor.
Yeah. Okay. Some characteristics about this Doctor.
Mm-hmm.
He was also a Doctor, a little bit carefree.
Yeah.
Always believing that it was never too late. So he was very positive Doctor in some ways. He saw the world in a positive way.
He had a real drive of life, didn't he? And
that
because I noticed that in the audios. He'll get really knocked back, but he'll say, "Look, I'm going to carry on doing what I do. I'm going to carry on the adventures." Like he's still got that flame in his heart to be the adventurer, do good.
Yeah. And that is the reason why it was so hard because the last Great Time War was on the way. He needed to change, so it was very difficult for him. Mm-hmm. So the contrast between the 8th Doctor and the 9th Doctor is very big.
Well, should we discuss some of the audios first? Because
yes,
that's the journey to there. The first audio that Paul McGann did was Storm Warning,
and
this is where he met Charlie Pollard, this Edwardian adventuress.
Oh yeah.
Now, because there was this airship called the R101, and she had snuck aboard it, and because you weren't really allowed on those kind of flights back then, but she wanted to do the adventure, and the Doctor met her in there, and the airship got into this confrontation with this particular alien race that like it had this kind of, it was like this Gestalt entity, but it like had this caste system. So like you had like the id, ego, and superego, the personalities were kind of in a caste system. And I think the captain of the airship does something stupid. He kills one of the guardsmen of the caste system. So basically the id revolt and take control. And yeah, but it's been a while since we listened to it. But basically the outcome is that the R101 was supposed to crash. It did crash, and the Doctor rescued Charlotte Pollard from it, and that caused an anomaly because she was originally supposed to die. So for a while, whenever the Doctor travels with her, basically her presence causes this kind of paradox. And there's this theory. There's this theory that like there's this thing. There's a principle called, like, because there's matter and antimatter, there's a theory called time and anti-time. And because of Charlotte's paradox, wherever she goes, it allows this form of anti-time to infiltrate everywhere the Doctor lands. Now, crucially, the Time Lords have this theory. The Doctor rubbishes it. He says, "No, I've never seen anything like it. It's gibberish." He's complacent. He's dismissive of the idea. But there are hints that Charlotte is having an effect, like because they do visit a this house, Edward Grove, I believe it was called, this Victorian household, because Charlotte is from this kind of very rich family, and they had so they returned to Edward Grove, and it's sometime before Charlotte had grown and left. Like, so it was like it was the old house. But it turns out there was a time paradox there because there was a particular just a minute, I'm going to look this up actually. Sorry.
Yes, good.
Chimes of Midnight, which is a let's see. Oh damn! I'm going to have to look. Yeah, I got the Wikipedia page, but it's not giving me much. I'm going to go on the fan wiki. Yeah, okay, Chimes of Midnight. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, I've got something. Right. So basically, yeah, it's set during Christmas, and they land in the Edwardian mansion, Edward Grove.
Yes.
And it's let's see. Yeah, so there's a scullery maid called Edith. Is it Edith Thompson, I think? Yeah, I believe it is. But basically, she was like treated horribly by the rich family. She was like dismissed as this idiot, and she had this very, very, very tragic life. Because she was kind of really at the bottom of the class ladder, and everyone bullied her. She had this affair with one of the family, and he said, "Well, yeah, but we're not going to come to a relationship. You're just a menial scullery maid, so you know it's going to look bad on me if I'm seen to have a relationship with you." And that's just how the class system was back then. It was really horrible. And then Charlie was at that point the young girl of the family, and Edith used to make these kind of plum puddings, and Charlotte was very fond of them, and because of that, Charlotte was fond of Edith. So Edith had this kind of bond with Charlotte, and then, but like I think Charlotte's probably forgotten this because this was in her childhood, and then eventually Charlotte dies when Edith gets the news that Charlotte has died on the R101. Edith just sees no point living anymore, and she just commits suicide. And because of the paradox is caused by the fact that she committed suicide because she thought Charlotte was dead, only for Charlotte to arrive in this setting alive. And basically, because of that, the house develops this kind of psychic life, and it basically creates this kind of weird time loop parody of Edith's life, where basically everyone's acting out this monstrous class ladder system, and everyone's dying in ways related to the profession. Like the chauffeur is the like Edith actually dies twice in this system. She basically, first of all, she's drowned in the washing up liquid, then in the washing up sinks rather, and then second time she dies, she suffocates herself with a plunger, and everyone's running it as suicide. And then the chauffeur dies because he's run over, and for some reason this repeated meme with the family quick to dismiss it as suicide, and the doctor's like, yes, it was suicide. He got in his car, ran himself over, and drove it back into the garage, and then died.
Oh,
yeah. And the thing is, it's like, in a funny way, it's acting out the parody of all the trauma that Edith suffered. Like everyone's like, they're saying, oh, maybe she was too stupid to know that you couldn't drown in the pool, or the business where the guy who killed him, the guy who was the chauffeur who was killed in the killed by his own car, was like having an affair, and it's like that played into it as well. And it was really sad actually, because there was everyone was saying, oh, she was too stupid to know you couldn't drown yourself that way or something, and she was saying they were always belittling me, they were always telling me I was stupid, and yes, I was uneducated, but they made me feel more stupid than I really was. Like, and that was you could, it was very hard hitting. Now the Doctor stays involved in this because this is a mystery he has to solve, and he loves to kind of solve this mystery. But for Charlie, it's personal, because she feels like Edith was fond of her for a reason, and the Doctor's saying, no, you owe her nothing. This isn't your home. This isn't reality anymore. So there's that kind of division between the two.
Okay.
And so it's like, so the Doctor has a confrontation with the house, which forms corporeal form, and Charlotte, of course, meets with Edith. So yeah, there's that was the first hint that Charlotte surviving the R101 has had, major effects on time and space.
Yeah, this is what I mentioned earlier in the beginning of the stream. That's the reason why this Doctor also involved in the paradoxes of this universe.
Yeah,
because the
final one is Neverland. That's when the Time Lords catch up with him, and they say and the Doctor. This is where the Doctor's like, look, you were not going to because he fears that the Time Lords are going to force Charlotte to return to the R101 to die as she was destined to, and he's like, he said, no, I will not let this happen. Because even he has this confrontation with Romana. It's like, this is significant. This is like he's taking a stand against an old friend to defend his new friend. Because Romana's kind of become the president of Gallifrey, and the Doctor's cynical. The once you become in power, then you become slightly more and more corrupt. So he doesn't really trust Romana, which is significant. So the theory is that by letting in by traveling with Charlotte, he's opened the floodgates of the universe to this force called anti-time, and they have to return to so basically, Vansel, who's member of the CIA, the Celestial Intervention Agency, he performs this operation on Charlotte, where he basically has to open up the portal to the anti-time dimension, and they go in that, and eventually they resolve the paradox because they basically, in this anti-time universe, they find the remnants of Rassilon, and they realize that Rassilon wasn't so dead. And on the journey back, it's the Doctor, the TARDIS breaks, and basically, again, you end up in this kind of mindscape where the Doctor is merging with the memories of Rassilon, and so he basically reenacts a lot of Rassilon's life and all the secrets of Gallifrey, and he finds, to his horror, that actually Rassilon was a genocidal maniac who waged a war on the vampires who were originally innocent. Originally, they were vegetarian, and so this profoundly disillusions him, and he really gives it his all to Romana that you're just another corrupt president waiting to happen. And she tells him, "You've got to leave this universe. You're still infected with the Zagreus virus and the anti-time virus." So she exiles him to the Divergent universe. Mm-hmm. It's this universe where time is on this in this circular loop. Yeah. They have very little concept of time, and so he has to remain there until he's cured of the Zagreus virus. And obviously Charlotte joins him, and that's where he meets this Utermism called Keres in Creed of the Chromon.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Very interesting.
Yeah.
There's so much to talk about, actually.
Yeah.
This is all new for me, what you say. So it's very good. Very curious about this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's some very, very convoluted arcs in that season, in the audios.
Mm-hmm.
So the Divergent Universe stuff that comes to a bit of an abrupt end, and then the Doctor finds his way out, and it's this race of time to make sure that Rassilon doesn't escape as well, because he has to make sure Rassilon remains where he is. And so they come into the next into the real universe, and that's where they meet Davros in Terra Firma, and Davros has really gone mad. He's the thing is, basically, it turns out that there was a secret history that basically the Davros was after Remembrance of the Daleks. Davros he left he evacuated the ship, and his escape pod fell through a time vortex, and he was picked up by this Nekastani ship in the vortex, and that's where the Doctor finds him. And at that point, this is before he's with Charlie. He's traveling with these Samson and Gemma from Earth. These are this brother and sister, and basically he performs this operation on his mind, and basically that's what gives him amnesia. So that's quite an interesting thing, is that basically because of the TV movie, I think a lot of the writers drew on the amnesic trait of the Doctor. So that becomes a recurring element with this Doctor. And so basically Davros conquers Earth. Davros possesses Samson and Gem, and he forces them to bring him to Earth, and he basically knocks the Doctor out cold and performs surgery on him. He forgets everything that happened. And basically he releases this virus that forces the humans to mutate into Daleks, and before long the entire planet is full of Daleks, apart from there's very, very few pockets of life left. And so the Doctor returns to Earth with Charlie and Keres, and this is after the Divergent Universe adventures, and then gradually Davros breaks it to him what he's done, and the Doctor is horrified. But the thing is, at this point, Davros has kind of been so longing for this revenge that he's really has gone mad. He's developed schizophrenia. Part of him is thinking he's the Dalek Emperor rather than Davros, and so it's the Davros is just about holding it together to enjoy his moment of revenge. And he gives the Doctor this virus that will just destroy all life on Earth. It will kill the Daleks. It will kill the humans, all of them. And the Doctor takes it with him, and he later confesses to Charlie that because he was so disillusioned, he was so horrified at what had happened, that he actually was tempted to just do it. And but at the end, in the end, basically, he has this plan to force the Daleks to leave Earth with the threat of the virus. And so basically he says, look, if you can't shoot me, because if you shoot me, it'll release the virus. If you don't release my minds, I'll break the capsule and the virus will kill you all. So the Daleks basically forced Davros to leave Earth with them, and basically they forced him to become the Emperor. And so in a way, the Doctor gets his revenge. And so then so basically that's he begins so he resumes the old adventures, and it's he said to himself, look, I'm not going to let what Davros has done destroy my hope.
Yeah.
And so there's that. It's this Doctor is more hopeful, but he can be vengeful when he needs to be.
Yeah.
And so eventually his adventures with Charlie come to an end, and then his next companion is Lucy Miller.
Mm-hmm.
And this is she is basically she was a witness to something on Earth where there was this Cyberman plot to at this because Lucy basically started this job at this office, and apparently there was some secret plan going on in there with the there was a Cyberman plot. Basically, there was Cybermen were infiltrating the office, and the Time Lords knew that she was a witness to something, and they decided the way to put into protection was to teleport her and send her to the Doctor. They beamed her on board the Doctor's TARDIS, and the Doctor keeps trying to return her home, and the first time he does it, he accidentally lands her on this colony called Red Rocket Rising, which is about to which was hit by a it's this planet in a state of nuclear winter. Like there was the colonization went wrong or something. They were hit by a meteor. It devastated the planet, and basically they couldn't evacuate. There was no means of evacuation, so they've had to rely on the hope of an evacuation. And so basically the president has basically called on the help of the Daleks. Well, no, she called on the help of any passing ships, and the Daleks have received the call, and they're pretending to be, "We are here to help you." And the Doctor knows that this is a trap. And he does some digging, and he realizes that actually what happened was there was this there was actually a crashed Dalek ship there from another a previous war, and there was this scientist called Martez who had actually started operating, basically trying to recreate the Dalek experiments, and the Daleks were so basically she created this new breed of Daleks, and so she called on the old Daleks for help because she thought they would help they would help basically nurture this new species, but the Daleks have come instead to destroy this deviant species in the name of the philosophy of racial purity. And this is interesting because the Doctor decides he's going to help the Daleks do this. He says, "Look, I want this war over quickly, and I don't trust this new generation of Daleks. They're just going to be just like the old Daleks." And no, I thought that was kind of quite dark because I thought, well, the Doctor doesn't quite know this generation, this new breed of Daleks. Like they weren't made by Davros, so they weren't programmed to be his idea of what the ultimate survivor is. So he doesn't know if they're necessarily the same kind of evil that the same kind of evil as the Daleks we know are. But he helps them, and he basically helps them fight out this war. He basically engineers the civil war so that both sides will be destroyed because the Daleks have returned to finish things off. And in the end, like there's these two Daleks. It basically like basically they nearly wipe each other out to the point there's only two Daleks left on the battlefield, and they're both about to kill each other, and they're half blind. They're trying to target each other, and the Doctor deliberately goes out to confront them, and he says, "Look, your dying word's going to be, just you're going to destroy and everything." And there's this scene, like this weary moment where he says, "Look, come on, just for once, surprise me. Tell me there's some hope of some compassion in there, that you're not just gonna live and die as these killing machines destroying each other." And it's like but like obviously it goes, obviously they're bastards right to the end. So he travels with Lucy for a while, and then he returns her to Earth, and she gets involved in that Cyberman plot. It's just, there's a particular scene where the Doctor inadvertently he gets involved, and he accidentally opens a portal to the Cybermen. And it's like, by accident, I've accidentally helped them in. And so the holding captain is like, "You have helped the cyber race." And he goes, "Are you going to let me go?" "No." It's like, "I'll go on." And so eventually the adventure with Lucy Miller comes to an end when she leaves him and she starts a new life on Earth in the 22nd century, and I think she gets into a relationship with Susan's son or something.
Oh.
So, yeah. Yeah, but then the Daleks return and they basically plague bomb the planet again. And Lucy becomes she nearly becomes she basically gets infected, and it leaves her blind, it leaves her crippled, and she becomes part of the resistance, and like it really, really hardens her. And she really, when the Doctor returns to try and help, she really lays it into him. It's like you've taken too long to get to us. It's and like she's always been having a go at the Doctor, but this is different. This is like because she lays all the blame at him, and eventually afterwards she says, after she said it all, she said, "No, I really regret that. I said it. It all came out wrong. I didn't mean to blame you for it all." But the crucial thing is, the Daleks are about to open this. They're doing the same operation they did on Earth, where they were trying to dig into the Earth's core and put a traveling, like a piloting device into the core of the planet. But this time, it's supposed to be able to pilot the planet through time as well as space. And the main plan is that the Daleks are going to pilot it through this area of space that is teeming with viruses, so that the planet will carry the viruses. So basically, the entire planet becomes a plague bomb. Like you can pilot it to any planet you want, and the plague will be carried with it, and it will basically infect all life there. So they basically can force every single creature to be subjugated. And it comes to this point where Lucy gets hold of a Dalek saucer, and she realizes that her only plan is to pilot the saucer into the mine shaft and basically collide with the device so that it stops the Daleks, but it will kill Lucy in the process. And the horror is there are two. Oh, it's quite loud background noise there. Can you possibly turn it down? Okay. Right. So and as the Doctor's like being told this plan, he's saying to the Daleks, "You know what? I had a chance to destroy you once, and if I get out of this alive, I'm going to go back and I'm going to finish the job. I made a mistake. He's like, no mercy anymore. I made a mistake by showing you any mercy at all." And then there's like Lucy is trying to contact the Doctor and say, "What do I do?" And she says, "I'm going to do this. If you got another plan, let me know." And it's this really tragic moment where he's like, he can't say anything to her, and he knows that basically she has to do this, and it's like he can't think of any other ideas, and he's saying like to Susan, look, the Daleks have got to be stopped. Lucy is going to die. And he has this kind of great speech to the Daleks. He says, "When you can't threaten us with death, you have no power." Because what Lucy does is kind of a self-sacrifice, and it's something that the Daleks can't account for. And it's almost like when you said like this Doctor has a core of hope. This is kind of, in the bleakest of circumstances, this is the last hope he has. Mm-hmm. Is that when there is no hope, there is only the power of the humans to just have nothing to lose, and that's how they win, and that's how the Daleks lose the power to terrorize them into submission anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the turning point. And he basically tells Susan afterwards. He talks to her about like the time when back in An Unearthly Child, the famous scene where he nearly bludgeoned that caveman to death, and Ian stops him, and he says that was direct action. And it's like I've kind of wrapped myself in the idea of what's moral and what's not, and it's paralyzed me. I need to be more the direct action type.
Yeah.
And he basically, the last scene in the story is he's listening to the recording of Lucy Miller, because Lucy Miller was trying to send out this distress call to the Doctor to get him to arrive, and he was late to arrive. And so basically all he has left of her is this recording of hers, like, and she's being a kind of flippant self. She's saying, when I'll ask you to come back, and then you'll say, "What if I don't want you to come back?" And I'll just kick you in the shins, and you'll say, "Ow, that hurt." And it's quite tragic because he's listening to it and he's actually performing the words she said. He's like, "What if I don't want you to come back with me, Lucy?" And I'll kick you in the shins, and you go, "Ow, that hurt." And it's like he still wants to cling on to that interaction with her.
Mm-hmm.
And he's so yeah, that's And that's the big change in the audios, because from that point on, you got this Dark Eye series, which is now the opening of that is he's just losing it completely. He's trying to pilot the TARDIS to the very ends of the universe, and there's a limit on that. The TARDIS can't go beyond that point, and he's like, he won't be thwarted. He's actually about to take an axe to the TARDIS just to force it to cooperate, because all he is rage at this point because he's lost Lucy and he's lost so many others on Earth, and the Time Lords try to give him hope, and they pair him with a woman called Molly, who was in the First World War. She's this doctor called Molly, who was in the First World War, and they travel together, and there is a lot of talk in that about hope and despair. And he has this line where he says, "You know what? It's not despair that hurts; it's hope, because hope is what's bothering us. Despair is something you can be complacent about. You can just be defeated about it. Hope is painful, because it's like if you have to carry it with you. You have to carry it through adversity, because hope is a fragile thing. That's kind of what he's saying, and it was a very beautiful line.
Yeah.
And I always got the sense that what Big Finish were doing there was they were saying, because from up until the Name of the Doctor on the TV series, it was assumed that if there was the Time War there was in the TV series between the Daleks and the Time Lords, it was always assumed that it was the Eighth Doctor who fought it, and there was the end of the war that forced him to regenerate into the Ninth Doctor.
Yeah.
So it's always assumed that he was the one who fought it, and I think this was Big Finish kind of leaving a note to say, yeah, this is where this Doctor's going. He's been this very eloquent, very poetic, very optimistic figure, and now due to adversity, it's changed him, and now he's like, I need to make up for past mistakes. I need to finish the Daleks off. And so he's revved up for the war. But Moffat disagreed, didn't he? Moffat was saying, I don't think the Eighth Doctor would fight the war. Yes.
Regenerated.
Oh, you're the enigmatic Joker, but you're not the one I was expecting. So shall we talk about the end then for McGann?
Yeah, I think it was very good to this what you told about the Sarah Pollard and Lucy Miller, because it reflects good what the Eighth Doctor is and what his development was in his character. It changed from soft to dark, and it was necessary to change because of the last Great Time War.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You notice he becomes, when he starts.
Nice bridge.
Yeah, when you see, that's the thing. When he's with Charlie, he's the optimistic adventurer, Byronic type. When he's with Lucy, he's slightly darker, like he's a lot harder edged. He's not very welcoming to Lucy at first. He's like he just sees her as an intrusion, and he really kind of, like, they have quite a funny banter, but it's like quite antagonistic. But they obviously become fond later, and then but then obviously at the end of that, he's even more hardened. He's even more kind of disillusioned because of losing Lucy. And so now, what was your thoughts about the idea of having? Because Moffat said he didn't like the idea of the Eighth Doctor fighting the war. I mean, what's your opinion on that? Because I have an opinion, see, but what's yours?
I think the first time I saw New Who, I thought Eccleston was the one involved in the war.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But then there was that episode of Night of the Doctor, and all the special with the War Doctor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there was a completely different thing.
Yeah. Now, apparently, Moffat wanted the War Doctor to be Eccleston.
Yeah.
He couldn't get Eccleston to agree. Like, I think the stipulation was that Eccleston wanted Joe A. Hearn from the first series to direct it. Mm-hmm. He was willing to work with Moffat because he said he really liked working. He really liked Moffat's. Like, his favorite story of the season was The Empty Child, the Doctor Dances, and so he very nearly would have come back. He was more amenable to coming back under Moffat than he was under Russell. But then, because he couldn't get his way on that, it fell through, or so something. There was some reason. I don't know. I mean, but I think then, so Moffat had to come up with the idea of now. I mean, personally, I would have involved McGann. I would have said, you know what, for me, it would make sense for McGann to make that transition from the audios to he's the one who fought the war. Lucy Miller broke him. He had enough. He was going to fight the war, and that's how I always interpreted it. But Moffat said he couldn't picture McGann fighting the war. Mm-hmm. Now he said, like, you know, because of the way he was characterized as the poetic, romantic, eloquent, you know, optimistic. He said he couldn't imagine his Doctor fighting the war. Now for me, I feel like, look, if it's a war against the Daleks, and if it's a war that your world is involved in, and like, you know, Romana and Susan are involved in the war, because it's like the implication is all the Time Lords were recalled to fight the war, and it ended them all dead. And so I would have thought that the Doctor would be willing to fight that war on principle. So I never quite got the Moffat's idea that McGann would refuse to fight it. So basically, he had the idea that that for the Doctor to fight it, he'd have to be changed to the unseen War Doctor, the John Hurt Doctor, and that was the plot of Night of the Doctors. The Doctor crash lands. He says that the war's been around him for a while, and he's always stuck to the sidelines. He's never got involved directly, and he refuses to on principle. He even says at one point, "I would rather die than fight the war." But now the interesting thing is he's having this confrontation with the Sisterhood, and it all feels like a bit of a formality. It's almost like he knows they're right, but he's taking the last stand. Of it's not my war. I want no part of it. I will not fight. And it's like he kind of knows already that he has to do what they say. He has to change to a warrior. Yeah. And once he becomes the warrior, then he's no longer the Doctor. Like the promise is broken. Yeah. So that gets us into the War Doctor, who's now the first thing we know about him from the way Matt Smith's Doctor describes him is he is not the Doctor. It's like he says, there's that scene where it's like, you're the you're the 11th Doctor. I never saw him. Which Doctor is he? And he says, he's me. It's like, but I've counted all your Doctors, and the Doctor says, I said he was me. I didn't say he was the Doctor. And he says the name is a promise. He's the one who broke the promise. And it's like he says, what I did without choice in the name of peace and sanity.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. When you actually see John Hurt's Doctor turn around, you actually see him. He's just got this very, very troubled face, and that face just paints a whole picture, doesn't it? He's been through some very, very dark times. Yeah.
By the way, he was in the Night of the Doctor. We saw him in a younger self, the War Doctor. Originally, he was young and robust.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes, that's true.
Yeah. So there's a big time between that, and because I don't really exactly know how long the last great time was during. Many years.
It's a mystery, isn't it? We never quite get a definite answer, because the thing is, Big Finish have done, like, they did 4 box sets with John Hurt. They did. I've listened to one of them. I haven't listened to them all. But they there's 4 sets, and it was like, because Big Finish had finally got the rights to do some stuff with the new series. Like, they got the rights to do stories with the War Doctor, with Tennant, with River Song, even. Like, there's several audios where she actually meets past Doctors. And so the War Doctor was kind of what they went for. And so, and John Hurt was at that point still with us. And I think, like, it sounded like he was really, really happy to do the audios. So, but he did the 4. I think it was always meant to be 4. And then obviously he passed away. And I think they wanted to kind of continue the series. So they had the idea of doing a young War Doctor set, which is this is the Doctor. This is the War Doctor as he looked back in the when you see his reflection. It's actually a picture of John Hurt in younger days. So like that's this young version of the War Doctor. Now I've not listened to any of them, but like it's the implication is the war went on a long time, and this Doctor was a veteran of it for. It's almost like because it's a time war, maybe those years aren't meant to count or something, or I don't know. It's a bit mixed up, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what I want to mention is what we see in the anniversary when we see the War Doctor, and he's teaming up with his future selves.
Yes, because the day of the Doctor is set on the very, very last day of the Time War, and that was the day when the Doctor decided he had to end existence. Like he basically had to sacrifice Gallifrey to destroy the Daleks, and he had this device called the Moment, which is this ancient Gallifreyan weapon.
Yeah,
and basically he was preparing to use it. Now the thing is, the Moment is this psychic device, and it kind of it knows, like, because you've seen the Doctor's wife, haven't you?
Yes.
And you know that basically when the TARDIS is extrapolated into a human form, it has this kind of very, very out of time perception of things. It has this very, very jumbled, like it knows the future, knows the past. It kind of and it's really struggling to adjust to linear time. And I feel like the Moment is very, very similar. It's like you can kind of tell that the Moment is supposed to be kind of similar to Idris and the Doctor's wife. There's this energetic kind of sentient being, and it's a very, very lovely dynamic because you can tell that, and I think Moffat did this deliberately. Like the Daleks are kind of they're weapons of hate, and I get the sense that Moment is supposed to be a weapon of love, because it's like if you're desperate, you're going to resort to the Moment, and the device is designed so that if you're desperate, if you're at a point of desperation, it's going to help you to do the right thing rather than the desperate thing. And it doesn't like it's confrontational with the Doctor, like it tried to confound him. Well, the War Doctor. Now, so it basically, because I think the Moment knows this is the only thing he'll respond to. Like, there's no way to reach him any other way. He's cast aside his companions. He's used to being alone, so he's not easy to get through to. But I think the Moment really does want to try and save him. It wants to save his soul, basically, and give him a reason to live. Because the thing about the War Doctor is he said, I'm prepared to die with Gallifrey. I've committed so many terrible things I'm ashamed of. I want to die with Gallifrey. Just, so he's a very self-destructive Doctor. And he's just hoping his enemies die with him, basically.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
So what would you say your take is?
For the War Doctor.
Yep.
He had some plans to what you call. He was when he was teaming up with his future selves in the anniversary. The War Doctor was open to a peaceful way to end the Time War.
Yeah.
What was the original plan was very different, but when he met his other selves, he changed his mind.
Yeah.
So that's what I noticed.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting thing because it's like the Doctor has this Doctor is locked on this path. There's no other way but this one. He's resigned to the worst outcome.
So the Doctor is healing himself. Actually.
Yeah, because his future selves, they have very different. They have different personalities. They have different outlooks, and they've had a lot of time to think about what happened that day, and they've got a new perspective of, well, what if we did this instead? What if there was this plan? What if we tried to, in a way, absorb Gallifrey into this? Well, basically trap Gallifrey into this pocket universe and make it appear that it had been destroyed, and the resultant firefight involving the Daleks, they'll end up destroying each other. And that will make it appear that Gallifrey's been destroyed. So that was that outcome. And that was kind of the interesting thing that it's like it was because he'd been alone so long, he needed other people to the moment, and he needed his future selves to show him a different path.
Yes, and that's why I think Doctor is healing himself and is dealing with the traumas he had.
Yes, that's
in that
true.
at that moment, and he needed the other future selves to heal himself, to restore himself in a certain way.
Yes.
So the past was very traumatic, and in this anniversary special, we see that the War Doctor is restored actually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So this is what I noticed, because it was a very great task for him, a very heavy task for him to end all this. But because of the other doctors, it was for him not so heavy anymore.
Yeah.
He was held by the other selves.
Yeah.
So that was a very nice story, I think. To restore the whole thing about the responsibility of this. I call it.
Yeah. Dilemma.
Yeah.
Burden.
He was a sort of a renegade.
Yeah, but he's like the Eighth Doctor. He's a very eloquent Doctor. Like he says, like great men are forged in fire. It is the privilege of lesser men to touch the flame.
He had some things of the Eighth Doctor, but still deep inside. I think deep inside.
And he wanted to be he wanted to be alone at the end. He was like, just don't watch me do this. Go back to your lives. Be happy. And it's like it's like he's never seen that kind of happiness before, and he's like in a long time, and it pains him to see
he's
that.
Smiling again. He's smiling again.
No. I mean, before he realizes there's hope, before then, he's about to press the button. He's going, go back to your lives, go back to your happy lives, make it worthwhile. He's just like, he can't stand to be around them anymore, because he's like the reminder of a hope he doesn't have, if you know what I mean. And that was quite tragic in a way. That was quite poignant. It's like he thinks he's lost the ability to be happy or be hopeful.
We call it low self-esteem. Because he was guilty. He felt guilty about all the things, and he was saying of himself, "I'm not really the Doctor."
Yeah. That's the thing. Is like because the implication is that the Doctor was basically a title he took as a promise.
Yeah, and he thought himself unworthy. That was meant.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Well,
the name of the Doctor.
Yeah. And I was wondering if maybe that's what happened. There was something about that promise that was really, really sacrosanct, and like it defined, like it was, like the Doctor had kind of tread a fine line to not break it so far, and somehow this was where the line was crossed. And then all we know about the promise is it's never be cruel or cowardly, never give up, never give in.
Yeah.
And that was so basically it's the idea that if you're going to fight this war, you have to be prepared to be cruel and cowardly, and you have to resign yourself to doing something terrible with no hope of any other way of doing it.
We see also in his short thing, the things we know on screen, he is quickly irritated.
Yeah, he's a bit of
extreme anger. But yeah, that's the result of all the war and all the things he has done.
No, see, I didn't see that so much. I didn't think he was angry. I think he was, for me, he seemed weary. He seemed like he was a little bit irritable. Like when he sees his younger selves, like but I don't know if it's so much irritated as baffled when they're using the sonic screwdrivers as weapons or pointing them like they're guns or something, or like, what are you going to do? Assemble a cabinet at them or something? So he's kind of he's positioned as the curmudgeon of the three, who's just like, are these the kind of juveniles I'm going to become, kind of thing, and he's despairing at it. But I don't know. I don't know if he was. I wouldn't have said he was necessarily angry. I would have said he was kind of maybe joyless. Maybe he's but it's more incredulity than anger, I'd say, in him. I don't know. It seemed like unweariness, I'd say.
Mm-hmm.
That was kind of the impression I got. I mean, there are moments in the audios where he rages because like someone keeps saying you're the doctor on you, and he just explodes. Don't call me that. I'm not the doctor anymore. That's not my name.
Yeah, that's the irritation I mentioned. Yeah, that I was.
Yeah, but that's more in the audios.
Yeah, it's more in the audios. Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
During his first years fighting the Time War, the Doctor saw the conflict as a challenge to overcome.
Sorry?
He showcased, during his first years fighting in the Time War, the Doctor saw the conflict as a challenge to overcome and showcased an arrogant and egotistical persona, not unlike his sixth incarnation.
Oh, I see.
But it was more for him a defense shield. But the first years were more for him a challenge. But it was getting more serious. So he must harden himself to solve this problem. So in the first years it was more from okay, I will solve this conflict. But it get more serious. So he needed to harden himself more.
I see.
Yeah, that's what I mentioned. That was meant.
Yeah, like I said, this is like from audios I've not heard, so I'll have to take a word for it.
Yeah, but it's also this more a source I we got it raadplegen. The exact word for consult. I was consulting a source about. I was reading about the big finish of the War Doctor, and so I was. I read it. Read about that, and I thought I shall mention it in the broadcast in the live stream.
Yeah.
It was the first time. It was not so great big deal, but in the development of the whole war, it was necessary to be more and more aggressive.
Oh well, it would be because you got the because this is the thing. The Doctor has fought Daleks before, but he's never and he's known that you got to be ruthless in that fight. Like he goes to extremes in Power of the Daleks and Planet of the Daleks and Resurrection of the Daleks, particularly, where he'll just be ruthless. He'll just like, look, you can't reason with Daleks. They're killing machines. You got to kill them first. And so he knows how ruthless you have to be, but like it seems like he's never quite prepared for being engaged in a full, like, years of war with them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of, there's an ambiguity. It's because is it that he's refusing to fight the war because he just doesn't want to fight, or because the Time Lords have become so corrupt that they're almost both as bad as each other, and he just doesn't want to give an advantage to either side. He doesn't want to be part of the fight the Time Lords are engaged in, because he knows if they win, they're going to do terrible things, and obviously he knows if they lose, the Daleks are going to do terrible things. So it's hard to know on what point of principle he's refused so far to fight it, or how he's choosing to fight it once he gets involved. Yeah. Because I mean, obviously when he takes it, because the implication is once he takes it, he's not just on the sidelines anymore. He's deep in it. But it does. The hint is that in Day of the Daleks, and in most of the audios, and in most of the book Engines of War as well, it's like the hint is that even though he's involved in the war, he's still not on the Time Lord side. He's alone. He's almost like fighting it as a vigilante.
Yeah.
Like he's still refusing to work with others. He's basically adopted the Mad Max role, really, this one-man war kind of thing.
In the audio of The Heart of the Battle, there's an audio called The Heart of the Battle. He did not believe peace with Daleks would ever be possible.
No.
So, and by the way, as he grew older, the Doctor wanted the war to end, but felt it was his duty to continue the fight. play his part.
Yeah.
That's in the audio The Innocent.
Only the Innocent, yes.
Yeah, The Innocent.
I need to listen to those audios again, I think, at that time.
The War Doctor also could be cagey and cranky, but would return to the kind treatment and he received from those who did not antagonize him. He was in a good enough mood.
Yeah.
You can see that in the David Doctor, by the way.
Yes.
I see some. By the way, he was in the audio. He reunited with Leela.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, that was an audio Lady of Obsidian. I heard a half of that, but I cannot remember. But I was very surprised to hear Leela suddenly. He was overjoyed in that moment. So he was still remembering all the things of the past, and but there was some sparkle in him when he reunited with Leela. So I thought it was good to mention this. Because it is very nice, very surprisingly was that. Yeah,
well, it feels like
he was regaining some old ribbon of teamwork. All the time he was alone, and then now he was again with a old companion.
Now, see, I could see them really working together, like the same way I could see, because
he's a warrior also. She's a warrior also. Yeah.
Well, yeah, but I also think it's like he's similarly moody to the way the Fourth Doctor was moody and difficult. And I think Leela knows that. She knows how to deal with a Doctor who's moody and difficult. So I think she'd work with him in the same way she'd work with Tom and John's Doctor the same way. And I feel like with obviously because with the Eighth Doctor, he kind of works quite well with Romana because he's got the similar kind of Byronic romantic qualities to the Fourth Doctor. So they bond together again really well. And so I think Romana's a good match for the Eighth Doctor, and Leela's a good match for the War Doctor. Probably. Yeah. I like I said, I need to listen to that one because I need to. It is good.
Yeah, I'm very curious about it. I want to hear the other. War Doctors, but I don't know exactly how many audios there are for the War. But the War Doctor Chronicles or War Doctor, I don't know.
It's just called the War Doctor.
War Doctor.
You know what? I'm going to look it up. I think. I know there's four. There's 4 box sets each with a.
Yes, four box sets are there. There are 4 box sets.
Those 3 CDs each for the. Yeah. With John Hurt playing the character, and I think I don't know how many there's been of the new younger War Doctor. I don't know. I know they've obviously released one of them. Let's see. Let's see. Anyway, I found the page, but anyway, carry on. If you've got stuff to read.
Okay. On meeting his future selves, the War Doctor viewed it as a privilege to light the flame that would forge their greatness in the David Doctor. Yeah, there was also some. He acknowledged that the Time War had changed him and making him renounce offering chances to his enemies, and unable to make the same promises as previous incarnations could, recognizing that his previous selves would hate what he had become. And also reflected how he was lesser man than his successors, having become great men from the guilt he suffered from his actions.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there is some acknowledgement of his side that the Time War had changed him and that he was not making his promise, what the Doctor always promised in all things. So he was neglecting some things, but there was still sparkle in him for the Doctor. But when he met the future selves, the sparkle was again flaming in his heart. So he was able to do the good things again, what he did in the past. So that's a main thing, and I think it worked very well at the end for the War Doctor.
I found something on Big Finish. Big Finish website is a nightmare to navigate these days. It really is. It's ridiculous. Let's see. So if I go to the War Doctor, let's see. Okay, give me the range. What's it telling me? What have they got? There's still let's see. The War Doctor begins. They got the Light the Flame, Forged in Fire. Oh, you say the first one is Forged in Fire, and then there's Warbringer. They got 2 more releases coming out, I think, soon. So yeah, they've released 2, and they're releasing a further. But so the younger War Doctor one. They've released 2, and they're going to release 2 more. And they all seem to be written by John Carley. Okay. Oh no! It's not. No. They're all starring John Carley. Sorry, Jonathan Carley is the one who plays the young War Doctor. Thought he was the author. Sorry. Yeah. Where are the monsters? Yeah, in total, there's been 4 box sets, 2 standard CDs, and there'll be 2 more coming soon.
Yeah.
And obviously, there's also in the novels. There's also Engines of War. There's a book called Engines of War, which is about the war.
The Big Finish website is not so orderly.
Yeah, it's a bit of a
mess. It needs to clean up more.
Yeah,
order.
New management. Don't even try looking for Judge Dredd in there, because you'll not find it anywhere. Anyway. So is there more to cover?
Yeah. Also, one thing in the TV Day of the Doctor, we can see that he is tired of the suffering and chaos the Time Wars had caused.
Yeah.
And he has lost the will to survive beyond the war and his self-beliefs, but still maintained a whimsical charm in some way.
Yeah.
Be very attached to his TARDIS and overjoyed when he's reunited with it after an extended period of time.
Yes.
He also addressed the TARDIS as an old girl.
Yeah.
So you see that's one of the characteristics of the War Doctor. You can see some sparkles of the previous incarnations in him, but it is a little bit extinguished.
Yes,
because of the war.
Kind of calcified, isn't it? It's like it's struggling to get out of him.
Yeah, and you can clearly see in the episode of David Doctor that he sparkles again and are flames again when he because of his future selves.
Yes, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, you can see it's one episode, but you can see development in the War Doctor. In the beginning, he's a little bit grumpy, a little bit in his self, and then at the end, he's more himself again.
Yes, true. Yeah.
He's more himself again. So.
Real burst of life he has at the end when he's like
more living enthusiasm and more energy and more of all the previous things he had.
Yes, yeah,
and that's very nice to see. But I think by the way, it's a very great story, Dave the Doctor. I think that thing. The development of the War Doctor from one to the other is very good.
Yes, yeah.
But there's also because of the Doctor, the actor himself, John Hurt. He plays it very well.
Oh, he was brilliant.
Yes, he was brilliant. He was really the Doctor in that that way. Yeah,
because that's the thing. I think the thing is, if you're going to use Paul McGann, you'd probably have to tell like a long story of how he got to that point. And with an actor like John Hurt, you can just with a look, you can see all the experience he's had, how he's come to that point, and it's like it's there, right? In brevity, like just the strength of performance is you just get it instantly, if you know what I mean. And I think that's kind of why he was chosen. Yeah.
So, and we all know that's the Eighth Doctor is kind of classic Who, and then the Ninth Doctor is the new era.
Yes.
So this War Doctor is between these two eras.
He feels more classic, doesn't he?
Yeah, but it feels more classic. It's for me it's classic.
Yeah.
Eighth Doctor, War Doctor is for me is classic because it and the Eighth Doctor and the War Doctor together. They are lay the foundation for the new series, I think, in some way. You can see the results of that in the Ninth Doctor. We will discuss that. But, and you see throughout the new series till a very long time in the new series, you can see the results of all the things he had in the past.
Yes,
and in the because of the Great Time War and all the things. So, but I think Paul McGann and John Hurt laid really the foundation that for all the things what happened in New Who.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Yeah. So that's a wrap then.
Yes,
we got it all said, I think.
We're all set. Yes, there's it's very nice to have that. Now it's Classic is now done, and now we go to the new.
Yeah.
So this Christopher Eccleston, David Tennant, Matt Smith, Peter Capaldi, Jodie Whittaker.
Yes.
And for now. So this is a whole new thing. There's a gap between 1996 and 2005.
Yeah.
But the Big Finish was during that time there was Big Finish.
Yeah.
Many other doctors, for example, Peter Davison.
There's Peter Colin Baker as well, Paul McGann, and and the Unbound Doctors as well.
Yeah. So I think that's it for the Eighth Doctor, Ninth Doctor.
Yeah.
That's the classic Who, and then we go to the new Who.
We've closed the book on this well, I think.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
I want to thank you, Sedeku, for this.
Thank you for having me.
And see you next time.
Bye. Bye now. Bye. Bye, everyone.